This episode of the Fight Within podcast is presented to you by Meguiar's. For over 115 years, Meguiar's has been carefully creating and producing advanced formulas with cutting-edge chemistry to deliver a show car perfect appearance. Whether you're showing on the fairway, finalizing your car for auction, or simply getting your beloved car ready for a weekend drive, Meguiar's is ready to help with their premium car care products to make every automotive surface look its absolute best. Meguiar's, reflect your passion. Make sure to visit them at meguiars.com.
What's up, guys, and welcome to another episode of the Fight Within podcast. Today's guest is former teammate, former professional fighter, former fireman, former coach, former collegiate athlete, Raphael Davis, and is now a practicing attorney. That's nuts, man. Correct. We were talking off air just on how crazy those different career paths are, and just how, and also talking about how just as an athlete, there's really no end goal. It doesn't end well for a lot of people.
Right.
And you've been able to turn that into a now career as an attorney. So tell us a little bit about your background. Tell us a little bit about how you kind of got to where you are now.
Well, the journey started just from wrestling. My background is a wrestling background. Started not till high school. Wasn't that good of an athlete in high school, and then because I only qualified, I think, for CIF, placed, and never even made it to the state tournament. Okay. Right. Even though there's some other guys, long story is, other guy beat some guys. You're still like 30 years later. I'm like, dude, I should have won. There was guys that I beat. That kind of thing. It's like you never forget those side of things. Yeah. But anyways, I think those things kind of mold you maybe. And that's actually probably why I continued my wrestling career. Because I was like, hey, I'm better than this, and continued on to JUCO. Went to Golden West with Tito Ortiz, essentially. We were teammates there. Wrestled. I won the state my sophomore year, then transferred to Bakersfield. That was just just by dumb luck that I ended up going there. Tito and another teammate had already signed to go to Bakersfield, and I was trying to go to North Carolina. I was trying to do the whole school thing. Like, dude, that'll be cool to be a Tar Heel. Like, I didn't care about my career. I was like, that'll be a nice place to go to school.
Yeah.
And they kind of dropped the ball on me and just kind of were like, hey, well, we don't have any more slots. Like, I thought I was going for a second, and then all of a sudden it got yanked from me. I'm looking for a school at the last second. My coach, Donnie Garrett, contacted the school, said, hey, I got another athlete that's looking for the school to go to. So Bakersfield brought me up and go on scholarship. And that's what I mean. It was just dumb random luck. The last place I should have gone to that I ever wanted to go to, probably.
That's funny.
Ended up being the best place for me. That was the thing.
Why do you say that?
Would do the whole process all over again that way. I got, like I said, because of who I got hooked up with at the school. So at heavyweight, so I was wrestling 177, Tito's at 190, and then we have a heavyweight. Heavyweight's a two-time All-American. He's just finished up wrestling in the NCAA finals, and so the guy he lost to is graduating, so he's coming back as the number one dude in the country. At his weight class, at heavyweight, and his main training partner at the school is our coach Daryl Prope, who wrestled at Bakersfield back in the day, was a badass back in the day also. Anyways, what I'm getting to is I couldn't have had any better of a workout facility. Like I said, I wasn't that great of an athlete, but I understood how to work hard. Yeah. Right? I just understood, hey, look, I know I didn't have the high school credentials, but I think I'm better than I am, and let me just keep plugging away, and hopefully, things will change for me. And if I would have went to North Carolina, it wouldn't have been the same thing. I would have had one guy who was an All-American at heavyweight also, but he was graduating. And it just wouldn't have been nearly the same. And then this worked out where I got to train with essentially the coach, Pope, who was I think he was a 3-time Division II, but he was a NCAA Division I runner-up also. He was, and then he was Stephen Neal's, the heavyweight. He was his workout partner and the guy pushing him. And then Stephen Neal's pushing me and Tito, and it just, it elevates your game. You like we've always said, iron sharpens iron, right? Yeah. And so that's kind of what it was. And by my junior year, I was like a 50-50 wrestler, but I still qualified for NCAAs. And then to circle this story, in the Constellation quarters, I wrestled a North Carolina kid and pinned him. And I felt so good. I was like, screw you guys, man.
It's like justification. And I guess it makes you realize that you probably made the right decision.
Exactly. And I was so happy. I was so glad that I got to do that, and beat their guy that they were just like, they didn't want to have a and I so wanted to shake the coach's hand and say, hey, you screwed up, dude. And I didn't. I just shook it and walked away. And
so funny.
Anyway, so I finished in the top, 16, and everyone's giving me all these props and da-da-da-da. And so my senior year, they're thinking, oh, you should be an All-American. I'm like, holy crap, this is a lot of pressure, But it worked out that way. I ended up being an All-American. Stephen Neal ends up being a 2-time national champ, wrestles Brock Lesnar in the finals.
So nuts.
And so that's the type of guy he is, right? He's beating Brock Lesnar, in the NCAA finals, and that's kind of my workout partner, to beat me up all the time. And so it felt great. And then we went on and wrestled for the Olympic team trials. That's next year. Steve had already won the Worlds the same year as our senior year. He won the World Championship. And then the next year we were wrestling for at the Olympic team trials. Dang. I qualified just by I wrestled well one time and beat some guys that I probably shouldn't have beaten, and that just propelled my career the next level. I didn't ever expect to continue wrestling after college. I was like, all right, I accomplished what I wanted to do. No more of this. I'm done. But then I qualified the Olympic team trials. You don't just quit at that point, right? Yeah. You don't just go, all right, I'm done. And then my teammates, he's number 1 or number 2 on the ladder.
Goodness gracious.
So he's looking at making the team. And so now I'm just training along, and naturally I didn't do that well at the Olympic team trials, but it was just kind of a cool thing that I got to go participate in the Olympic team trials. He takes second. He ends up being a runner-up, and this is the type of athlete he was. Since he didn't make that team and he didn't make the Olympic team, now he's like, hey, I'm going to go play football. That's kind of the kind of athlete he was. He ended up playing football for the Patriots and won 3 Super Bowls. He was a lineman for Brady.
Goodness gracious.
That was the type of
insane.
athlete this dude was. He was a phenomenal athlete, and that's what pushed me. And even without him, he went that direction, and I continued wrestling for the next Olympic ladder or Olympic cycle of 4 years. He was in 2002. He was already signed by the Patriots, and I'm still just continuing, and I'm a top 5 guy at my weight class. Unfortunately, a better athlete, DC, is at my weight class.
Oh shoot!
And so, that's how actually I ran into Mark. That's how I started knowing Mark, was through that level. So Mark was the owner of Rain Training Center, and Mark Munoz, and that's how I ended up hooking up with him. He's starting to wrestle at 96 kilos, the same weight class as me, DC, Pat Cummins. There's a couple guys, right? So that's why that world is so small.
Yeah,
and
beast right there.
Right, and it's just a bunch of. It's crazy thinking back. Back in the day where that was next level for wrestlers. You didn't. MMA now is cool. That's once you're done, you're like, hey, I'm going to go do that. I'm going to earn myself a lot of money. For us, it was no, I'm just going to go wrestle for amateur status. And that was next level for us. And there wasn't much of a hey, let me try to use this wrestling to make a lot of money moving forward. It's just so. Anyways, I wrestled to 2004, tear my ACL on that last Olympic year, and so I didn't even qualify. I was pretty bummed. And then was like, all right, I'm done. I'm not going to do this anymore. And luckily, in 2000, that same year, I got hired by the LA City Fire.
Yeah.
So then I go move on to LA City Fire, work for them for about 8 years. Great job. Loved it. Doing that while I'm training for fighting, though. That was the thing. Like, I got through my probationary year and was just kind of unsatisfied. Like, I loved my job. It was a lot of fun. But it was hard for me to just quit being an athlete.
Yeah.
It was just like, you've had that experience of like,
I'm
done. Right? Yeah. I still have it. Shoot, I retired like 10 years ago and I still had it. I'm like, dude, I think I can still do this. And then my body tells me no. But, I just wasn't done. And I think I even went back and tried to wrestle at Open Nationals, got throttled by DC. They put me in, like, I haven't wrestled in like a year, right? Like, I'm not really training. I'm a firefighter.
Yeah.
I'm not like training full time. And I just entered just because I wanted to wrestle. And these idiots seated me right away. And what that did was put you in the second, like, you didn't have to wrestle like the scrubs. They just said, okay, you're in the second day and you're now a seated wrestler. Well, it puts me up against DC immediately, and I'm like, this sucks. Like, that's not what I wanted. And it was funny because I totally forgot about it. Like, I totally forgot about it until I did some interview for when DC was going to retire, and some guy brought it up. Like, oh, you got beat by him in this. I was like, I didn't wrestle. I was in the fire department. And then I forgot. I was like, oh, yeah, I went back. Yeah, I forgot I went back and tried to do, like, this sort of like have fun wrestle experience, and that was a bad idea. Got throttled 2 times. I don't even remember who the second guy who put me out. But
how did you transition into fighting though?
So that was just through the wrestling. So like I got throttled there at that tournament, and then it was kind of like, well, now what do I do? And so then I started kind of like transitioning into, all right, let me go do the golf for wrestlers jiu-jitsu. Let me go do that. And that was just like, all right, this is kind of fun. This is better. Like, at least I'm grappling. I'm doing something. But then also Tito's fighting at the same time, right? So and we're still, buddies that we keep in touch. And I'm like, hey, if you need help, with your wrestling, and he's fighting Liddell and all that, having those trilogy sort of things. I'm like, hey, I gladly come up and help. I just want to come up and be an athlete somehow. I'm not really thinking about fighting. So I do a lot of his camps. I think Chuck #2, Liddell, his second fight with Liddell. I'm going up to Big Bear, I'm doing that kind of thing. I'm working as a firefighter and going up there, taking days off, and just going to go help him train. And then it was just kind of, like I said, I was just not done being an athlete. And then I think one day I just, like, on a day off, I just was like looking on the internet trying to find a place to fight and like see if someone will. I found a place down in TJ that was like, hey, yeah, we'll take you. Like, all right, sounds great. I have no idea what I'm doing. Never wrapped my hands. I've never thrown a punch.
Yeah.
Other than street fights, like wrestling fights and things like that, right? Like nothing professionally. I don't know what the hell I'm doing. And so me and my girlfriends, my later to be my wife, but my girlfriend at the time, we go down to TJ and sign up for this fight. She's in my corner. Like, that's my corner.
Really?
That was I didn't have a corner person. Luckily, I ran into someone that I knew there from wrestling, and I was like, hey, what's up? And they're like, you don't have anyone? And I'm like, no, I need someone. Like, I don't know. Yeah. I don't even understand the process. And so they're like, oh, yeah, we'll corner you. And so fight this dude from Canada. And, I mean, I'm just a wrestler, basically, right?
Yeah.
I'm not going to throw any hands. I think I don't even think I threw one punch. I immediately go for a takedown, slam him down, and just start elbowing the hell out of him.
Yeah.
It lasts like 16 seconds, right?
Nice.
It was just like, it was done. And I remember he tapped, and I was like so mad because I didn't get any time in there, right? But I don't know what I'm doing, and I don't realize, wow, that was a really good thing that you got to get out of there without any damage. Anyway, so that was the start of my pro career as a 1-0 fighter, and then I think for my next fight, I signed with the IFL, International Fight League.
Yeah.
And so I'm with Frank Shamrock's team. And so I would travel up to San Jose and go train with them on occasion. And then I fight in my second fight, this guy, Brett Beauparlon. And he wrestled on their national team. So I kind of knew him. And it was more than I could chew for my second fight, though. I didn't get beat up, but it was just the fact that I lost the decision on my second fight. And I was like, I was sick. I remember being sick and thinking, all right, I got to throw my hands. And I'm not very good on my second pro fight, And I think I've only got like maybe 6 months of training or something like that total. So I'm trying to throw hands, and it's pretty sloppy and ugly, but and I'm getting tired because I'm sick. So I'm inefficient, and anyways, I end up losing the fight, and so then there goes that. And then at the same time, I'm working with the fire department, right?
That's crazy.
All while still fighting.
All while
That's
fighting,
crazy.
right? And then so I think I went from IFL to, I was supposed to fight again, but California just started their commission, and it was such a disaster when they first started up. They were such a bad commission. I think they're like tough now. They were super lame then, and so like they wouldn't let me fight like Vernon. What was that guy's name? I think Vernon Davis. I can't. No, not Vernon.
No, Vernon Davis is a football player.
But
Vernon White.
Right, there you go, Vernon White. He was like 40 and whatever, 40 and like 14, and I'm like 1-1. And then they were like, "Yeah, we can't allow this fight we can't license this fight." So I got basically booted out of the IFL because I didn't have enough fights to fight some people, and they had 2 more events. Our team had 2 events in California, and so basically I got screwed because California wouldn't license me as not having enough fights to fight another professional. And I'm like, oh man. So that moved me on to M1. I start fighting with M1. And that was good. That was with Colin Oyama.
Mm-hmm.
What's his name? Shane.
Del Rosario.
Del Rosario was on the team. Well, that was good. It's good to partner up with him. Good dude. Super good dude. We had a good little crew, and so that was a good experience. And again, I'm working full time for the fire department / fighting at the same time, trying to meld both worlds, right? And so part of me, when I'm fighting, I wish I could kind of do it all over, because a lot of times I didn't want to take damage because I didn't want it to affect my real job.
Yeah.
And I could have done it differently. So that way it would have just been like, hey, you could take, not that we want to take damage, but you look at the game now and it was like, hey, look, if you would have learned better stand up and been able to be there and punch people more, it would have been pretty good deal. But I became more grappling centric,
Yeah, but I think it's hard. People don't realize that a lot of the fighters in any organization, really, if you're not top level, top tier, you're not really making money.
Right.
And if you have responsibilities, if you have a wife, if you have kids, you got mortgage, you got bills to pay, like that matters, and that's stressful as a dude. I think a lot of times guys especially aren't allowed to talk about their worries or their concerns, especially as a fighter, and then even more so as an athlete, even more so as a fighter. You're supposed to have this like tough guy persona, and so many people have been sold on that, and that's just not. It's just not realistic. Like, we go through crap too, and we have worries and things that we're nervous about, all the time. And you get paid whatever. Like, my first Bellator fight, I got paid like $6,000, and I was like, that's terrible,
right?
And so, talk to us a little bit about how, with your wrestling background, now fighting, were you able to translate that work ethic or that skill set into your real job? Because I hear it all the time. People are like, oh, I love hiring athletes because of their work ethic, or they know like what it takes to get to that next level or to push themselves.
Yeah, I mean,
it's a great question.
Without a doubt. I mean, the wrestling being grounded in the discipline of cutting weight, getting on weight, on a weekly basis, right?
Yeah.
Training every single day, a couple times a day. And then I wasn't doing it as a team anymore, like as I got on the fire department. I was doing it for myself.
Yeah.
Prior to getting on the fire department is what I mean. Like, when I was training for the Olympic ladder, I'm doing it all by myself. I have to push myself to go do things, right? And so it was just my discipline in doing things. And that translates into your work life and doing, and personal life, everything, So, yeah, I know. I remember talking to even a captain at the time at the department that was on the hiring committee. And he said, yeah, we hired you as a professional athlete, technically. And I was only an amateur athlete. They considered what I was doing, wrestling for on a full-time basis as a professional athlete, even though that's what it was, amateur status. But they were like, yeah, that was kind of, we understood this is what you do, and this is the discipline, and this is how you get along doing that. And this is I got hired in 2004, so this is real early internet era, right?
Yeah.
The internet's not so like, I remember even when the investigator like found my picture on the internet, I was like, oh my gosh, I didn't, it was like a weird thing because it was kind of a new thing. It wasn't that normal to go just type in Google someone else's name and go find them. So things like that, it does translate, and a lot of my wrestling discipline has gone into just about every aspect, to even now I'm a solo attorney right now, right? I do my own business. I have my own business, and I'm the one who runs everything. I got to answer phone calls. I got to, file the lawsuit. I got to deal with clients. I got to do it all myself. Yeah. And it's not because someone else is telling me to do it. It's because I want to do it, and I have the drive to be successful. And that drive from high school wrestler to college wrestler to international athlete to MMA athlete to now a full-fledged attorney, it's the same drive. It's just a mind shift thing, right? Before, it was fighting was a physical aspect of, hey, I need to push my body and push my body to a limit, right? To achieve certain things, go one-on-one with someone, or with wrestling. But now it's almost the same thing. I'm just intellectually challenged, with someone else about, hey, is this concept right or is this concept right in regards to the law? Yeah. So it's the same thing. It's a one-on-one fight. I'm just now doing it intellectually instead of with fist or kicks.
Yeah, way different.
How did you get? I don't think we did. But how did you get from fighting to? Because you're still when you're firefighter / still fighting to now an attorney. How did we get to that transition?
So that part will be very fun to talk about.
I'm pretty interested in that.
Because I screwed up my life.
Even better then.
Yeah,
let's hear it.
That part gets. That's where things get a little screwy. So I totally blew it here in my life, and because I liked the job, I loved the job. I was very good at the job, and I worked in a lot of high volume call areas, it's like South LA, Pacoima, and then I transitioned to a station in Harbor City, which was super slow, and I hated it, and that's where the story kind of takes a little turn. So as I was off duty for the second time because I tore my labrum. I tore my shoulder on the job, and I was at the same time I was fighting though, right? So tore my labrum, and I'm fighting, doing my thing between work and fighting. Things are going good. I've let the department know that I'm fighting, and let insurance know, and I'm doing the right things. I need a follow-up surgery his doctor says, hey, we need to clean up your shoulder. That's probably why you're having this problem. I'm like, okay, cool. I've got something scheduled with Bellator. This is not going to conflict, right? It's no problem. No worries. It's just a cleanup job. So I go in, have the surgery, and oh man, come out. Oh man, I had to do the whole surgery that I did last time all over again. You're going to be out for like 6 months. Ooh. What the heck? And for me, that was a mind-blowing experience, because this is the era where we're fighting for 2 and 2. So you're upset about 6,000. UFC is fighting. You're fighting for $2,000 and to show and 2,000 to win.
That's insane.
Right out the gate. Yeah,
that's insane.
That's crazy, right? That's the world that I was in.
That's pretty bad.
Right? And so I'm thinking, I signed with Bellator, and this was when they did their tournament status, and so there's $100,000 on the end, and I've signed for this, and I'm excited because I've got a balloon payment of my new house, and I'm like, hey, I gotta do this. All right, cool. And now the doctor's telling me that I'm out for 6 months, and I'm on workman's comp for the LA City Fire, because that's where I got hurt, right? And so, in my mind, not understanding the law yet either, is I go, hey, you know what? That was the second job I already had. They already know about that job, so I can continue doing that, right? And like, I had justified it in every which way I could in my own brain. Like, I didn't realize that was a fraud, taking a check and then going saying, hey, I can go fight over here. Even though I'm saying certain things to the department, I wasn't trying to be like, oh yeah, I'm totally hurt, dude. This thing I can barely lift my arm, and then going to go fight. I was telling the doctor, hey, look, I can go here, I can do this, and blah, blah. And he's like, well, I don't think so. I don't think we're quite there. And I had this fight signed up, and I just kept hoping that he would put me back to duty and I could do both. And finally, when the fight came up, he didn't put me back to duty, and I was like, I got this thing signed up. And that's kind of like my mentality of like, hey, I said I'm going to do something.
You got to do it.
That's what I'm going to do, right? End up being the dumbest decision of my entire life, but, it led me down to this road where I'm at now. So to wrap this ugly story up, is what happened is I got... a captain at the station saw me on TV, and I knew I was going to get in trouble. I knew
Did you accept it in advance, or?
I did, but I didn't. Like, I thought I was going to get a hand slap. Yeah. I thought it was literally like not a big deal, and didn't realize it was a fraud. I didn't understand that, and that's where it was like, they're like, how could you not know? I was like, dude, I just didn't understand it. I didn't understand what it was taking that money is saying, hey, look, I'm unable to go to work, and in that regards, right, to that job, not necessarily the fighting job. Yeah. Right? I was thinking, well, because I already had the fighting job before that, it allows me to continue going to work for them. Mm-hmm. That was kind of my mindset. And so anyways, it was just really stupid. So then I ended up getting busted by, they turned it in to, whatchamacallit, internal affairs essentially for the fire department. Fire department investigates. They go, hey, yeah, this is a workman's comp issue. We've got to send this file over to the DA of LA City. LA City's now taking over it. Dude, they came to my house with, I think, 8 cops.
What the heck?
To come arrest me. They go, yeah, our field commander thought we had to have all these dudes because they knew you were a fighter, and they thought, like, it was like a full production.
Crazy?
Yeah, I thought I was going to go nuts, like, and beat up everyone. So I got arrested. I got charged with filing of a false insurance claim. And then what that led to was I took a misdemeanor, essentially. But it being a misdemeanor was enough for me to get excused from the fire department.
I'd say, yeah.
So because it was detrimental to being a firefighter, and it was in their, I forget, it was in the charter somewhere in there as far as workman's comp, because it had to do with workman's comp. Anything with workman's comp, even on a minor misdemeanor, was going to be like, you're done, you're out.
Yeah.
And so I was like, all right, I guess that's the end of that job after 8 years. Great career. See you guys later. I had no other issues with the fire department. Like, I've never got busted for anything, never did anything.
That's freaking crazy.
I was somewhat of a model employee for the most part, because, again, I'm fighting and I'm putting, like, the our fire station patches on my fight shorts and stuff like that, and like trying to promote even the fire department as I'm fighting.
That pisses me off.
And it's kind of funny because, like, people realize right now with this vaccine mandate that they have now, firefighters are like, oh yeah, the department doesn't have our back. I'm like, yeah, welcome to my world 10 years ago, dude.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy.
They'll take care of themselves, right? The city will take care of themselves. You're a cog,
for sure,
and you're out.
Well, what's super annoying is the fact that you told it. I feel like it would be a totally different story if you hid that you were fighting, but you were open about it, and that's what makes me mad. Is like, if there's transparency and it's like.
So I got some backstory to that part. This is what also teaches me at this time in life. And so I'm like 30, I'm 35 when this happens. And people will just take care of themselves. So the doctor pretended like he had no idea what I was doing. Wow. I had a full-on captain pretend he had no idea what was going on when he was the dude who helped me fill out the paperwork for the fire department. Like, people will just, in order to save their skin, they will throw you under the bus. No one cares.
Yeah.
No one cares.
Well, we learned that this last year. More so than anything.
Right?
Sure.
In 2020, right? Yeah. So that's exactly. They will take care of themselves before they help you out in any sort of way. And so, yeah, it's been kind of weird. Like, I've ran into those people again, and it was just weird situation. Like I said, I wanted to do that with the wrestling coach. Like, hey, you screwed up, and I've wanted to do that. I ran into the doctor as an attorney. Like, I went on at something, and it was a plaintiff. Basically, was being inspected, or like had to go through a physical with a doctor, and it just happened to be the doctor that did the surgery, who then said, hey, he's been doing this for so long. And so, like, I had to be like, hey, you remember me? I had to pull that one. I couldn't let it go. I didn't quite do like, hey, I know you lied and you're kind of snake in the grass, but I just wanted to be like, hey, you remember me? And like, yeah, I'm an attorney now. Anyways, so once that happened, once I got fired, essentially, that was basically what it was. I was like, what am I gonna do? And so that was a hard time in life. Like, dude, you've now put on the persona of I'm a firefighter. That is your life. That was what I identified as in life,
Sure.
right? My kid is, I think three or four at the time, and I have a newborn, right when and so it was quite hard for me. Like I seriously contemplated ending my life at one point.
Yeah.
Like that's how jacked up it is, because you associate your life with something, and then all of a sudden it's stripped away, and now you're like, what am I doing? What am I going to do
Yeah.
with my life? How am I going to pick up the pieces? Well, is my life more valuable like this, or is it more valuable if I just give her insurance money in the end for this kid? And that's
Yeah.
jacked up thoughts, but it's crazy that I'm thinking that, at that time. And I eventually told my wife about it, like years later, like, hey dude, I had some dark thoughts then, because that was just a messed up time. People slamming you on the internet and stuff like that too. Like it just made me feel smaller and smaller and smaller. And it's like, dude, I'm a worthless human being here.
I think you go from having essentially a team or like a support system and people that are, I'm sure there's a type of maybe brotherhood, but like, how do you say? Camaraderie. Yeah.
In the department.
To then just literally like that, not having it.
Exactly.
And those people to turn their back on
Yeah,
you.
and then they turn their back on you.
I've talked to one dude from the department since, like on a regular.
Yeah.
Like on a regular. Like and that's because he was the one who got me on the job to begin with, and we went to high school and wrestled together.
Yeah.
That was it. So I'm over at Rain training, but that is just a distraction.
Yeah, sure.
Like it's a distraction for me, because I can spend a couple hours, do something, and not think about what else is going to be screwed up in my life.
Yeah.
I saved a lot of money trying to pay for this house. A lot of that got thrown back to the city in restitution, paying for my attorney. So, I lost a lot of that. I'm like, oh, dude, this sucks. All that's gone. I ended up short selling my house at that after that, because I go, that's literally, we bought it at the worst time. We bought it in 2006.
Literally.
Yeah, where they're just like, hey, you know what? You could just state your income, and that's good enough for us, right? And then we were underwater with the house. It wasn't that we couldn't afford it, but what I did was I was trying to adjust like my mortgage rate or something like that. Missed a bunch of payments, and that's when everything started going off kilter with the job.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden I don't have a job, and I'm like, dude, I can't afford this new payment they're going to have for me, because it didn't work out well, and all of a sudden I was going to end up paying a lot more. And I was like, I can't do this. I don't have a job, and my wife is all, thanks, bank. And so 2013 is, we're underwater already. I'm like, business decision is a business decision. See ya. You guys keep the house.
Yeah.
I'm not going to do this. So short sell the house,
And you're full-time fighting at this
that's
point.
all I can do right now, because I don't have a job. I've got my degree, but I'm not really interested in teaching.
Yeah.
At high school, I got a history degree. Like that's about all you can do. You can be a politician,
teacher,
or an attorney. That's it. I'm like, oh, yuck. I don't want to be a teacher. I'll kill a kid before I freaking. So that job won't last me long. So I'm just kind of like hodgepodging of jobs, right? I think I was a TA at a school. I'm assisting at both a JUCO at Cerritos College and at a high school at North Torrance.
Yeah.
The North Torrance thing, so because it was so recent of me getting fired and everything, parent brings something up to the principal, hey, that guy's a criminal, blah, blah, blah. And they try to basically fire me out of that job.
Wow.
And I'm like, oh my God, this world is crazy in regards to, that has nothing to do with your kids or any, someone just had to do something and be salty and try to basically take that job away from me. So anyways, so I'm, like I said, I'm doing a hodgepodge of jobs. Finally, I get to a point. It's only like a year later or so, and I'm like, I asked my wife, like, "Hey, we've got 2 kids. What am I gonna do? I can't do this teaching thing. This teaching thing is not for me." I realized that I need to do something. I think I want to go back and do this attorney thing that I wanted to do the first time I went through school. I just had a high school coach talk me out of it. When I was in JUCO, it was my old high school coach, and I used to keep in touch with him quite a bit, and was like, "Hey, I want to become, attorneys are this and blah 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 and that," and he was all salty about him. I'm like, "Oh yeah, screw it, I'm not going to do that." So that's where I went the wrestling route. Anyways, so now I'm having this conversation with my wife, like, "Hey, we're going to go in serious debt if I do this, but at least I can do this job for a very long time, being already at an advanced age," because I'm like, "Hey, I got to get in school. I got to finish school. Probably won't be till I'm 40, but I can do the job forever.
Yeah.
Like, as long as your brain works, you literally can do the job, and until you are in the grave."
Yeah.
So, but we're going to go in massive debt. That's kind of where I was with it. She agrees to it, and so I'm like, "All right, here we go." And
when did you start pursuing that? Was it after you were done fighting?
So, no, it was it coincided, right? So, as I'm going through the department, investigation and everything, I'm off duty, and they've off duty pay me, and I'm kind of like, it sort of has come back to me like, "Hey, maybe you want to, look into it." So I started studying for my LSAT, the entrance exam, and was not going very well because I'm getting paid, and so I'm going to go play golf, and I'm sort of studying, and then I'm like, "No, I'll get back on the job. Do I really want to do this?" And then once I got fired, then I was like, "Okay, no, this is for real, right? I need to figure out something." And so that's when I started going, "Hey, let me start studying for this LSAT, go take this class, and try to get, better at doing this entrance exam so I can get into law school." And I'm still fighting at the same time. Like, I realize, what am I, 35, 36-ish at the time. So I'm like, I got to make this work for right now, and just try to get some fights and do it. I didn't fight on that regular of a basis to begin with, because I only have 16 career fights altogether. So I wish I would have pushed that a little bit more. Anyways, so I think I do the entrance exam, get into law. I'm trying to go out east for law school because it's just cheaper, and possibly leave in California. And but my wife is working at County USC. She doesn't want to leave, and she kind of talks me into staying. So I go to Whittier Law School on a 1-year scholarship. And I was like, "Oh my gosh, this is going to be way more than I anticipated as far as debt was going to be concerned." So that's how I ended up going there. And just on my last fight, I fought, what is his name? It's so terrible that I don't remember the dude's name anymore. He fought for UFC. Anyways, we fight, and I lose a split decision, and I'm like, "All right, I'm done with this. I'm not doing this anymore." I've already signed with essentially World Series PFL. I've signed with Bellator. I've signed literally with every organization except for the UFC. The UFC doesn't want to sign me because I had my one bad loss with Bellator because of my shoulder. Yeah. During the tournament, and so they refused to sign me, and that's why Mark. I was trying to get Mark to help push it, and they're just like, "Nope," they didn't want to take it. So I'm going, this fight career thing is not going to pay the bills. That's for sure. I'm no Anderson Silva. It's not going to happen, right? I'm not going to get any more bills paid. I do not want to open a gym. I do not want to I don't want the grind. I just didn't want the grind. Yeah. And that's kind of why, the other reason why I went the attorney route. Like, hey, I needed to go to school and just figure out something that I like doing. And so I think my last fight was, 2 months before I got into actual school, law school. Go through the 3 years. I tried to take fight. I was going to. I asked for a couple fights. I'm glad I didn't, because I think I probably would have flunked out of law school for sure. I was. I mean, it would have been for sure done if I would have been fighting at the same time, because I tried to take one in Russia. I was going to. I remember I was going to miss like a midterm, and I was like, oh, dude. And luckily it fell through. It worked out for the best, It worked out for the best. And so I've transitioned into that, just saying, all right, I'm done. This 37 was old at that time, right? For fighting. Like, no one's considering. This is only 10, it is like 7-8 years ago. No one's considering really fighting beyond that. That's like super old. Now guys are fighting, they're 41, 42, Tito, 46. Like, dude, people are fighting. That wasn't then. That was not then, though. So there was no chance that and plus I was not interested in chasing it anymore. I just wasn't. I was chasing something that wasn't going to be fruitful for the family. It wasn't going to pay the bills. It wasn't going to do stuff for anyone. So that's where I was like, all right, let's do this transition. And yeah, so when I signed at one time, like I worked for my former agent, Paradigm, who does Conor McGregor, and they weren't as, Conor's going to fight Floyd when I go back and work for him as an intern. So like, their in-house attorney was like, dude, that's crazy that you're used to fight, now you want to do this as an attorney. Dude, you're going to be the best agent. And I'm like, no, I don't want to do that. I have no interest in being an agent. Yeah. I went back to find out if that business was for me. And I go, there's no way I'm going to get my family fed in time going this route. Yeah. And I just skipped it. I just was like, yeah, this will be great. I would love to do this if I was 25 and single and had plenty of time. I'm now 40 at this time, and I'm like, yeah, that's just not going to be for my family. I can't do it. So I was like, yeah, I got to find something else to do. This is great. I love it. I'm glad I have a niche in this area, being a former professional fighter / attorney, and I could use that, but I'm like, I need something to pay the bills now. So yeah, I just was like, I'm gonna move on. Thanks, but no thanks. Essentially,
that's insane though. Only because, and I saw you didn't touch on it, but you were even coaching high school. At the same time you were coaching JUCO. I ran into him at a couple of tournaments when I was coaching wrestling. You had your guy at state. I ran into him at state. Yeah. And so it's crazy to think about how MMA gives you those type of relationships, because you were one of my main training partners / coaches, and that always learning something from you. And so I feel like I have never told you that, like I was always learning. I'm grateful for the time you spent with me and teaching me. Like when I didn't have a corner, like you were like, oh yeah, I'll go corner you, bro. Like I paid him back, but he paid for his own ticket. He's like, yeah, I'll go corner you in Indiana or wherever I was fighting, because I just had my boxing coach. Yeah. And Mark couldn't make it, and then he's like, yeah, bro, I'll go. And I was like, for sure. And then like it was cool. Like you got to talk to Bellator, you got to corner me, like, and it's nuts to see that you went from punching and kicking people in the face to protecting them now.
Yeah, literally protecting them. Right. That is, dude, it's crazy. Like when Manny first told me about you, and I think that's what's so cool about having this platform is you have so many different careers bundled into, realistically, if you think about it, a short period of time. Yeah. Like it feels like a long period of time, especially if you're in it. Yeah. Oh yeah. But me, I've never met you until today, and listening to all that, that's a short period of time, right? Like during that whole season of your life, I went through the Marine Corps and started a business. That's it. You did 15 million things. Yeah. So it's like in such a short period of time to see how you took Manny's original question of like the determination, and we say it all the time, but the grit that it takes to go from here to here and excel in something. that's what is inspiring to someone like me. And I hope people that are listening, like, freaking do something, right? Like, don't be lazy. Don't feel sorry for yourself. Figure out how you can make something work, and just don't stop until you get it. Like, I feel like in today's world, we live in such a time where it's like,
give it to me right now.
Yeah, you want the instant gratification.
I need it right
without
now.
the work.
I need as many likes as I can get right now.
Like now.
Yeah. That's what it is. There is no grind anymore.
And that's
People
what's
don't
so
grind
frustrating.
it out.
Yeah.
Like I said, I was at a low point of my life being fired from the fire department. That was the lowest point in my life of feeling worthless and not worthy of living. Yeah. Like, I literally was thinking about going, dude, I think if I kill myself, my family does better because I got life insurance.
Yeah.
Right? Like, that's how jacked up that is. But I'm like, no, that's a weak way out. Like, part of me was like, that's such a cowardly way out of this situation. Like, there's something else.
Yeah.
And plus, I got 2 little kids. Like, they're literally little. They're maybe the oldest, the one's 4. She would have remembered because she still remembers fire department stuff sometimes.
Yeah.
She's like, hey, what happened? Why don't we do that? Anyway, so I'm like, well, there's a whole backstory. I don't need to explain it to you again. So anyways, it's just, I had to pick myself up and go, hey, what do I want to do? And how do I get there? Yeah, it wasn't instant. I got to go through, I didn't realize, hey, it's going to be a full year of LSAT.
Yeah.
Getting in, like, oh, shoot, that's another, like, I knew there was going to be 3 years of law school. I didn't think about the first year of just studying and then not being able to get in the middle of the year. You have to wait till the next year starts, right?
Oh, I didn't know that.
At the beginning of the fall, you have to wait till the fall, essentially, to start your year 1. And then 3 years of that. Then that doesn't finish it because now you got to study for the bar. And if you're unsuccessful at that, like someone was, it takes more time. Right? It's because you don't pass it on the first time. It just doesn't. It's rare that people pass it on. Smart people do. Guy who gets kicked and punched in the face does not pass it on the first time. So he's got to grind at that also. And that was a grind with having little kids and trying to Uber your way into, literally, I would finish studying. It's like midnight. Like, I'd go drive Long Beach just to make the worst amount of money. Like, you're making a couple $100. It's terrible. But I feel like I need to bring in something for my wife's doing most of the work, and we have some money here and there, but it's just like, I got to do something, and so grind it out. I was just grinding it out, and it was just miserable.
That's seriously, like, that's inspiring, though. Like, dude,
100%.
Like, I say it literally all the time, but determination and perseverance equals grit, right? Like, you had determination and perseverance. Most people they're determined for something, whether it's an instant gratification, whether it's whatever. So, most people have determination. They do not have the perseverance. And that's why there's such a big disconnect, and I think, in people saying, hey, I'm going to become a professional athlete, a professional consultant, a professional attorney, a professional whatever, a professional of some sort. Mm-hmm. They have the determination to do it, but they're not willing to grind it out and have the perseverance to see it through.
Mostly because they've never had that experience doing anything like that. Like, why would you be okay with the grind if you've never experienced the grind in anything, right? Because, like you were saying before, hey, I want instant gratification. That's what today is. Like, hey, I need instant likes, I need instant this, and I need it now. Well, that translates into something later on, right? Your life is your life isn't instant.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I think that's why, like, letting your kids fail sometimes is a great thing. Like, pick yourself up. Like, I'm gonna be here, but go fail. Go do a wrestling tournament. Go play sports. Go feel what it's like to lose, so that you know that when you get ready and you're training your ass off in the off season, it's not for fun. It's not for no reason. It's for you to get the outcome you want when it matters. In season or at a tournament or to go to state or in football, you know, on Friday nights for high school athletes like that. You're training when no one's watching. You're training a lot of times by yourself. You don't want to get up in the morning, but you have to. So it's like, I think, again, back to the question and your answer, wrestling taught you that, to go grind, to go be self-motivated, to go do those things and hold yourself accountable. You know, I think as you get older, like we talk about it all the time, it's so awesome having like a partner in the podcast, because now I don't have to carry the burden all by myself. He doesn't have to do it all by himself. Like we get to feed off of each other. We get to bounce ideas off of each other, and we get to do things together as opposed to just being like, all right, because you can come up with a good idea and then you'll psych yourself out and be like, oh no, that's probably not good. You shouldn't do that. And so it's insane, man. But I want to thank you for coming on. Thank you for being open about the things that you went through, and where can people find you or your practice? Like if people want to work with you, or if people just want to say what's up.
Yeah, right now, like I said, I do consumer law, so I do lemon law and auto fraud. You can find me at lemonadelegal.com. Lemonade Legal.
That's clever.
Yeah.
That's good.
People like it.
That's good. Yeah, Lemonade Legal. Is aid AID?
AID.
Yes. That's
As
good.
That's I'm aiding you in whatever you need. So yeah, that's pretty much my practice. And even other stuff, like I do other things, but I primarily focus there. You know, they can find me on Yelp too. That's usually most people find me there. And then www.lemonadelegal.com is my website.
We'll make sure to add that in like the links and stuff like that too, in the notes. Yeah.
Sure. I appreciate it, guys.
Yeah.
Thanks for having me on.
Thank you for coming on, man. You good?
I'm good.
Awesome.
I've been holding my pee.
All right. Raphael, thanks for coming on, man. And remember, guys, that everything was impossible until someone did it. So, guys, remember to like, share, and subscribe to our channel. You can find us on YouTube at youtube.com/The Fight Within Podcast. Find us on all audio platforms, including Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, iHeartRadio, anywhere you guys like to listen to it. Thank you so much for your support. Thank you for continuing to listen to it and watch it. We can see the growth on our analytics, and just want to thank you guys for supporting us.